What's poppin', y'all? While J. Cole has been going on one of the worst press runs we've ever seen, humiliating himself day in and day out, even a broken clock is right at least 2 times a day. And I wanted to get into this discussion that he had about classic albums that I really resonated with.
It's too many voices now.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too many voices, and it's too much bias. And there's never going to be agreement again necessarily unless it's just too much. And it's it's like politics. It's like politics now, especially when you got the bigger artists.
Yeah.
Your best bet to get another quote unquote like hands down universal classic is got to be from someone that hasn't developed enough hate yet. You know what I mean? Like you got to have because if you have enough people like riding against you or like a bias against you, it's like you think they're gonna give you that? Like you think if Drake Iceman come out and it's something that I feel is a classic, do you think that this that don't like Drake and been spending his whole time on him is gonna agree to his platform that it's a classic?
Yeah, man.
No, it's no chance. So it's like,
so this is a very unique take from J. Cole. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, but off rip, yeah, sure. Kendrick Lamar stans, or you could say Drake haters, they will never give him credit for. We had Ebro saying that Drake didn't even have a classic album at all. Like that's the level of delusion that we're at. So yes, if someone's a hater of somebody that's so popular, they will never give them their credit. There's people that just think certain artists are complete trash. Now, I don't understand how somebody could say Drake doesn't have a single classic album or Drake overall sucks when he's spanned so many hits. He's just hit every single metric that you could say for good music, for any objective metric that you could hit, he's hit it. He's had a wide span of music. Now, the only artist that I would say that if you say you don't like any of his music, I just don't want to take any opinion of yours seriously is Ye, because Ye's had such a wider span of production compared to Drake. But I don't think it's because everything's too divided. Perhaps just back then there was a lot less music that released. That's the first thing. But I do think he is correct in that a lot of stuff gets dismissed. And what's a classic now? Like, for example, I think time needs to pass more. Like Iceman, yeah, sure, he may think it's a classic, and then time passes and then people revisit it and then they're like, well, you know what, I had this opinion of it initially, but my opinion changed over time. Like, let's just take a look at, for example, Operation Doomsday by MF Doom, widely considered a classic album. When that dropped, how many people were covering it? Not that much. It wasn't until years later that MF Doom gradually, especially with the internet, a lot of word of mouth, a lot of niche communities, he would grow and grow and grow and grow to where Operation Doomsday became a classic, and a lot of people revisited his career because he was like one of the earliest independent acts after he got dropped from his rap group KMD with his brother, because his brother had passed away, and then he came back under this new moniker, had a bunch of different names. So Operation Doomsday is a good example of that. I'll give a Drake example of that. Like when Views first came out, and this is why it's funny, like you kind of get to see certain people's ages depending on the comments that they provide, because some people say, man, that was a class. I remember there was something I mentioned about Justin Bieber and people were like, dude, everybody loved Justin Bieber. What are you talking about? And I had to die laughing because you could tell that that person is incredibly, incredibly young, probably a teenager right now. Because if you guys remember, Justin Bieber Baby was the most disliked video on YouTube for years on end. People just hated Justin Bieber, mostly guys, young boys. They just hate him. They're like, oh, this guy's gay. They pretty much hated him because he was getting all the chicks. That's really it. Same reason they probably hated Zac Efron. Like there was just like this type of hate towards these types of young teens at the time. But Justin Bieber over time, like that's just an example of revisionism. But Views, for example, that's where I wanted to drag this into. When Views first dropped, there was a lot of hype for Views. Like there was a long rollout for Views. It was supposed to initially be called Views from the Six, but because the previous album before that, which is now being considered an album, is, if you're reading this, it's too late. That was a year before. That was in 2015. Views dropped in 2016. And he also dropped that project with Future in 2015. That was the legendary run that Future was going on. But before that, it was Nothing Was the Same, which was in 2013. So officially, it was 3 years before Views. And in that span, Views was just being promoted. And when Views first dropped, it was a mixed reception. Like, people didn't say it was trash, but people were like, damn, this is what we waited for? Damn, what? This is it? yeah, it's all right. It's mid. You can just, the easiest way to do this, and you can do this right now to get the actual sentiment, is you go on Twitter, X, you go to views, or you go to Drake album, type that in search, go to advanced search and sort by date. So the date that views dropped, and then sort maybe 10 days later after that. So you get this 10-day span of everybody that's tweeting about Drake's album, and you get the first initial reactions. And you will see the first initial reactions from most people was not, yo, this is a classic, but a lot of people regard that as a classic right now. So I think it's just time that has to elapse. Like, what has dropped that people immediately considered an instant classic? Other than, I guess you could say 444, people consider that an instant classic, but a lot of that is Jay-Z glaze. For Ye, a lot of his work, it took a lot of time. Like, for example, Yeezus, because the argument that he's trying to make is like, now things are a little bit different and haters aren't going to allow things to be like considered classics widely. But Ye had a lot of haters and people still considered his album a classic. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, that one was the one immediately after the Taylor Swift incident when he was the most hated. Now you could say he wasn't as hated by hip hop. It was more so like the pop sphere, but regardless, I think that goes against his point a little bit, but he continues to elaborate on this, and I really like what he gets into next.
Now you have like niche classics where it's like, yo, like, man, just trust the people over there. Like that's a classic to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a classic to them. But the universal,
it's over.
It may be.
Literally,
you know what I mean?
Literally, the title of my video was the Universal Classic Dead.
Right. Yeah. And even back then, it's like there were universal classics, but it was like, yo, sometimes people just don't give a enough. Like, people don't give a enough to debate your classic stamp. Like Illmatic, classic.
Yep.
Undeniable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in here is going to debate that. How many people knew that even dropped when it dropped?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many people even knew to join the debate? By the time Illmatic made it to me, to my awareness, it was already stamped a classic.
Right.
So when I press play, I'm listening to it as a classic. Go check how many units Illmatic sold the first week. Oh, it might have been 12.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 12,000 or something. But my point is, it developed a niche understanding that, yo, this is a classic. And by the time it made it outward, we listening in agreement.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't debate to this day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then again, Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt. Go read some of them reviews.
Oh, it took a while.
Yeah.
It took a little while.
They was on this.
Bad.
They was on that bad. Right. But the power of the music and the how good the music was outweighed the hate, and it outlasted the hate. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's possible today. That's possible today.
Yeah.
If the music is good enough,
you gotta withstand it though.
If the music is good enough,
for sure.
if the music is good enough to withstand the hate and outlast the hate, to where the haters just lose their steam, and the real Reasonable Doubt level starts to win, you got a shot.
So this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, a lot of these albums, when a lot of people get into hip hop in general, they're just told certain things. Like, by the time I got into hip hop, we're like actually having discussions, not just listening to the music on my own or with friends. You already heard like, okay, this is a classic, like Illmatic's a classic, you know, Mobb Deep, this is a classic group. You heard about all of the different albums from the Wu-Tang Clan, 36 Chambers. You're like, okay, this is a classic. You're told that. And you're not really going to argue, but also like you're anchored. You get this persuasion happening where it's like, yo, this is an amazing album. And it's funny when you see certain people react to these classic albums in their first listen, like a Blackboy Max, for instance. He'll go back and listen to some of them. He's like, man, this isn't hitting. And we're all collectively like, what the hell? And we may not have even been alive when those albums dropped, but when we got into hip hop as a whole, we were like, okay, we were told that these were classics, so we already think that they are, because everybody's echoing this opinion. It's a unanimous opinion. But like he said, how many people were tuning into an Illmatic? And it goes back to my argument about like Operation Doomsday. How many people were tuning into an Operation Doomsday? Significantly less than were tuning into Illmatic. And the same thing that he said with Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt. Like, Jay-Z, it was hard for him to even get into the industry in the beginning. They had to kind of like thug it out, drop their own money to get into the game, him and Dame Dash. But an album that's happened to recently, I would say, is Whole Lotta Red. Like, Whole Lotta Red survived a lot of hate. Some of that hate coming from me, but also a lot of it coming from Playboi Carti stans or Playboi Carti fans. Most of them hated. They were like, yo, what the hell's going on here? I would say Eternal Atake. It is debatable. Do I hold Eternal Atake as a classic? I don't know yet. It's a little bit difficult, but Eternal Atake, it outlasted the hate immediately because he dropped the Eternal Take EA2, which a lot of people claim that they wanted old Uzi. But if you look at EA1 right now, or Eternal Take Deluxe, because I know Eternal Take 2, I think, was a separate album, but he dropped the Deluxe. But with the initial project, that has outlasted the hate. And a lot of people go back to that and they're like, damn, man, we miss EA. But EA was 2020 and a lot of people were not messing with it. A lot of Uzi fans were not messing with it. Same thing for Cardi and Whole Lotta Red, which a lot of fans in the subgenre consider that one a classic. I think even people outside of Cardi's listener base, because he's got quite an expansive listener base. Like he had hyper pop fans that came into, he had electronic fans that came in during that Whole Lotta Red era. But like an Ebro, for instance, he wasn't gonna ever listen to or enjoy Whole Lotta Red. But people like him, and like let's say a B Dot, and let's say even who's another example, Elliot Wilson, I was about to say Bandman Kevo. I'm talking about Kev, the guy that does interviews. Even him that you wouldn't expect, they would probably be like, yo, I know that Whole Lotta Red is a classic to people, but maybe they're just not into the music. Or even in academics, who definitely wasn't messing with Die Lit, which Die Lit was separate from Whole Lotta Red in terms of sound, but you could say it was a progression. So that's something I feel like that's always been a necessary component for a classic. Like it's its durability. That's one of the things we can talk about too, is what's the durability of the album as time goes on, or replay value, if you want to call it that. Like for example, when Shrem Life 1 first dropped, and I talk about this a bunch because I've been talking about Sway Lee recently, but when Shrem Life 1 dropped, that was bangers top to bottom. And I think some people could have considered it a classic at that point. They're like, yo, there's no misses on this. These guys are scorching hot. They just came into the game. But now, 10 years later, 11 years later, I remember how I felt when that dropped. I remember how frequently I listened to it top to bottom. But when I listen, I just can't call it a classic. Maybe Shrem Life 2, I don't know. But like a Culture 1, for instance, just like that's for sure a classic. And I don't even think we thought it was a classic initially when it first dropped, especially if you were listening to Migos tapes. Like Cross the Country mixtape, love that mixtape. And that was Migos' second album, actually. Their first album was YRN the album. And that one did not perform too well. And then I think like Leor Cohen came in and he's like, yo, you guys got to lock in for this Culture 1. And they stopped treating it like a mixtape and put together something amazing. But when he gets into this next part is where I really co-sign J. Cole for this take. And this isn't even something that I thought about.
Get this vinyl. Nowadays, the fucked up part is like, I despise this about like, and that's a strong word, but it's like this, because I'm of the generation where I got a taste of the old way before it switched. So what I don't like is like, yo, to hear my album or to go hear somebody's album or to get his album, I gotta go get it.
Yep.
I'm already expressing love, number one.
Yep.
2, excitement, interest.
Yep.
Because I have to go do something to get this.
And you
even
inconveniencing yourself a little bit, right?
You said what?
It's a little bit of an inconvenience.
I'm inconveniencing myself
That's
to
commitment,
go check
right?
this out.
Right.
So that means I want to like this.
Right.
Like, so there's that. Even when it was iTunes, okay, even though I can get this on my computer, I still got to make a purchase.
Right.
It's inconveniencing me. It's hitting my pockets.
Right.
What I don't like right now is like, yo, you pay your $15 a month or your $10 a month, you got every song in the world.
Yeah.
We already undervaluing
Yeah, that's true.
all the songs in the world.
You're right, though.
like, okay, but then an album drops, a conversation happens. You don't even give a fuck about this artist. You never loved this artist. You don't even really care about the genre. You're not educated in the genre, in the space.
Right.
You just see a conversation happening and you want to be a part of the conversation. So now let me go listen to such and such album at 12 o'clock or the next day.
Yeah.
I didn't do no work to actually get to this album and to have an opinion. If I didn't like an album when I bought that on CD, guess what? I got the right to not like this because I spent $15.99.
That's right.
I got the right, and now I can have a conversation with somebody else that spent their $15.99. If you didn't spend $15.99, you can't even talk to me about this album. We can't have a conversation. You didn't do the work. You didn't make any type of investment. Now, you don't love this. You just listen to his album. You don't even like this person. But to be a part of the conversation and to have an opinion, let me go listen to this.
Yeah.
There's no barrier of entry for anyone to experience the music. And it's like, yo,
this captures exactly what's wrong, because a lot of people talk about, oh, we need to go back to gatekeeping this, gatekeeping that. I don't like that, because I think a lot of artists were gatekept from getting into the industry. Like, think about in a 2015, the Mexican OT wouldn't exist in a 2015. A Too Slimy wouldn't exist in a 2015, which some people would say that's probably a better world that we'd be living in. There's a lot of artists, especially that don't fit the mold, like a Contrast, right? Like an Asian rapper, that's not gonna fit in 2015. We got an Asian rapper in 2015 that was Rich Chigga, aka Rich Brian now, and that came out about as a meme, and he was making fun of himself for being, it was just like you had to be a comic version of Asian stereotypes to even have a chance to make it. And then he was able to turn it around really quickly and drop some really, really great music. Like, he had, I think his second album, I really love that album. But gatekeepers were largely bullied by the gangsters in the industry, and they had to give certain reviews. So I don't like the gatekeeper ideology, or the way that it was like that. Like, people couldn't get into the game. But here, what J. Cole is talking about is there was already a form of gatekeeping, or you could say quality control, which was the album costing money. There being some sort of a barrier to entry and a level of investment that you had to make to show that you cared. And if you made a level of investment into it and you cared, then you were probably going to be fair with your assessment, because it's like, yo, you only got a limited amount of money too. So let's say you've got $50 in disposable income for the week, right? You spent a third of that on an album. You, like J. Cole said, you want that album to be good, and if it's not, you're going to be and you're going to listen to it multiple times, because you're like, yo, there's no way that this is some garbage right now. Hold up, let me replay this again. And then you listen to it again, versus now you get people that are trying to give their take. The incentives are just so bad. You get people that are trying to give their take as soon as possible to get as much engagement as possible on social media or comments, and they don't even care about the music.
I'm gonna listen to this when everyone gets me the good songs, so I can see it later. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't have the attention span for that. I'm dead ass, bro.
This was one of the biggest streamers in the game right now, and he's like thumbing through the song like it's a deck of cards or something, or thumbing through the album like it's a deck of cards, which is something that Yeat has been teasing. This is the ADL album by Yeat, A Dangerous Life, that he's been promoting for several years, working on, making thousands of songs to get to this point. And here you have this guy that's like, I don't got the attention span for it, and just clipping through it. Now, not taking into consideration how many producers worked on this, the engineers that worked on this, Yeat working on this, coming back to the song, like making sure it's the right length, putting it in the proper place. And this guy's like, yeah, people, I don't got the attention span. People, y'all tell me what songs were good later. Just outsourcing the listening process. And this person isn't like a music reviewer or in the music community, you can call it, which I really hate that word. It just sounds so obnoxious. But clearly, this is how you treat something when it's free. When it's just like, this is just some garbage. Versus if you had to pay some money for this, yeah, you're going to approach it a lot differently. Or if you understand and have a respect for the music making process as well. Because I'm going to contrast this with another streamer.
Yo, chill. Yeat is him. Yeat is him. Brother, Yeat is him. Okay. Yo, chat. Breaking news. Live reports from the studio. Catch caught on fire live as they produced this. Yo, who's producing this? The computer caught on fire live in the studio. What is that? It's insane. Oh, it was an alien. It was bad. This fire. Brother, this hard. I'm not even glazing. This is insane. Oh my god. Yo, producer on fire. Oh my god, I almost started crying. Yo, probably one of the best hip hop song of the last 5 years. Very well done. Best album of the year so far. I don't care. Out of everybody, I genuinely liked it. Beats are crazy. It's actually well mixed. If you want to get a better take, go listen to Baldi Fantano. I'm bouncing both cheeks on it, loud and proud, because it's actually good. I don't care. I'm not overglazing. I just think this is really good.
So that's another streamer, arguably the biggest streamer on the platform of Twitch, and he's actually listening to the entire thing. He's taking notes on it, and he gave his own opinion, which is that his opinion doesn't matter whether he thought it was trash or great. The point here is that he listened to the entire thing, and the reason for that, I believe, is because he not only does he really enjoy music, but he has experience trying to make music. He's done a bunch of streams where he tried to learn production and learning how to make beats. So he has a different level of respect for the art. And he's like, okay, I'm actually going to take this seriously when I listen to it, because I know how hard it is to make something this good, or what he believes to be this good. And that's something that's lacking in a lot of people that just listen to stuff and are just quick to dismiss it. I think it's because people see artists as rich, so they just feel like, yeah, whatever, I can just dismiss their work, or I don't have to actually pay attention to their work or give it any type of respect. It just goes back to the whole if you're rich thing, which most artists aren't rich, but that's the perception, and that colors the way that they enter that quote unquote fans, which these people aren't fans. They're just listeners, will interact with their music. Honestly, some of them are really just engagement farmers, and they're not even real fans. Some of them are probably bots, and some of them are probably part of a hate campaign. That's why, where J. Cole was talking about, is that these communities, especially, that's why I loved early underground music, or early internet underground music, because early 2000s, I wasn't able to keep up with that stuff. Let's be real here. I didn't even know how the hell to approach that stuff. But in the early 2010s, you had to really dig to find underground rappers and that music, and everybody that was in that was talking about that. Sure, it was free, but you had to put in a lot of effort to get there. So you respected it a lot more, and you were serious about what you were listening to, and you were giving real opinions, and there wasn't some engagement you could bait because you were probably just on a forum or in some group text or group chat on Twitter or something like that, just talking about this stuff, or even in the SoundCloud comment sections for some people. But I don't even think that's something that we can bring back, but I do think things becoming more fragmented makes that better, because now if you're mainstream, people like the Ronaldo dude, right? You have these clips go out, and that guy clearly, he's just being honest about his own experience, and then it gets clipped and spread out. But when things are more niche and you're a smaller artist, it's just people that care about your music that are listening to it, and that's really good, because then you get accurate feedback, as opposed to when you're so big, you don't know, you can't tell the signal from the noise. That's the hardest part. But I thought this was a great conversation that J. Cole had on here. It made me want to check out the rest of the podcast, because we're just seeing highlights that make J. Cole look bad, or he makes himself look bad, but they're only going to take those parts out. And it's just easy to dunk on J. Cole, which we'll probably do tomorrow. But this one was something that I thought was worth a discussion. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see you on the next one.